It was the night before regionals, and all through the city, not a player was sleeping, not even at 4. Deck boxes lying neatly with sleeves double-checked, hoping round 1 wouldn't leave them completely wrecked. The playmats were rolled with precision and care, with dreams of top cutting dancing bright in the air. Sideboards were polished, each tech choice just right, praying the meta would match their foresight. Sorry, couldn't help it. It's, holiday season and all that, and, I thought I'd have a little fun since we do have our only GDO2 regionals coming out this tomorrow, if you're catching it on December 5th. So, this will give some insight on how well people are going to do that, and welcome to our December 5th Operation Meteor Meta Report. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to go over everything that we've done in the last few weeks. I now have over 600 decks worth of data right now. I wanted to get the Eggman triple box event, but they don't have all the deck lists for that one yet. So if they ever do, I can add that into our pile and go from there. And with that, let's go ahead and jump right into the data, and we'll move on from there. What I did get to do, and again, Japan does things a little different. I only got the top 128 decks in terms of color combination, and then we ended up getting a top person from 16 different pods. So the numbers from Japan make things a little wonky, but it still shows overall good support and representation for how well people are doing playing those decks at a high level. So take a look here. We have a total of 612 decks, 128 decks that made at least top 8 or top of their block, depending on where they're from. And for our weekly, what we're looking at here is that our last 2 events that I've got on here, being the Tokyo qualifier, you see that green-white ended up being the bulk of it at 45% of players making the top 128 playing green-white. And then we're kind of getting the 21% being blue-green, and then everything else is like blue-purple, blue-white, and all that. So it's huge turnaround for what we have seen. I mean, even if we look back at the last Japan finals, that only had 26%. It seems like the Tokyo qualifier this past weekend kind of did a huge flip where we were seeing 40% on the blue. I believe, this is a blue-green color combination. We see a dramatic reverse face on that piece as well. A lot of players in Japan also dropped from playing with, what is that? Blue, purple, and blue, white. So not a lot of folks made that top cut. It's kind of understanding why. And then we had an Eagles Nest tournament with over 20 players, and that one, so I took that data. Same thing. A lot of folks still stuck on that one. Slightly different matchup. We had a lot of players trying out the red-white combinations for mostly the cumulative combinations with the Sonanju. And not many players are turning out with blue-green here. So that being said, let's take a look at how our cumulative numbers look now. So as we look here, we see a shock to the system in the fact that we were under 30%. Now we're over 30%. For our green-white, this is going to be our Gundam Wing Shenlong with blockers. And this number's holding out pretty well. Seems like we're consistent with at least this deck keeper performance. And yeah, not too much of a change here after the Tokyo qualifier kind of skewed the numbers. We're kind of just holding pattern now. So we'll see how the rest of this month goes. That being said, keep an eye on this. I just found out today that Mission 3 for North America and I believe Europe, signups for those events, which will run through the back half of December to, I want to say it's like the second week of January. This is where you get the Hamon Karn, Tubale, and all-out attack or all-range attack promos for that. So keep an eye on these numbers. This will show you what decks are really performing well, so that way you can try to win that new type Challenge 3 cards. That being said, let's go ahead and pull up some data here. Let me go. Oops, one sec here. So we would break these numbers down a little bit better. We're looking at this. We're kind of making sure that we're keeping this in a nice, neatly order. So 32%. as of right now, 3% of decks that we're seeing is going to be playing green-white, 19.1 on blue-green. Blue-white and blue-purple are kind of holding on the pattern, and then red-whites make a bit of a resurgence. So let's say that we're at, I'm not entirely sure what the breakdown is for tomorrow. I have a friend that's competing in it, so hopefully look at some more back to him. I'm kind of curious on how many people ended up competing overall, but if it's, let's see here, 512, or no, sorry, it's 256 players. And then if we times that by 3, that puts us at 768. This is what Dallas was, roughly. So if we take a look at that, and we're going to take a look at that, if we say that about 50% of players are going to be on green-white or blue-green, just divide that by half, you're looking at over half the field just playing these two colors at 384, meaning that some of these other colors may not make it through just by the sheer number of players on these two. So I'm curious to see what will happen. I'm holding my hope out. I know a lot of folks were saying green-white likely are going to be our consistent winner just because of how many people are going to likely show up with that deck. I would assume that's going to be anywhere between 27 to 35% of players are going to be on green-white just because it's the most consistent deck that wins and has the highest chance of getting you into that top finish. Blue-green, it's popular. It's a good counter to green-white. If you can get rolling, you truck them. So the fact that you can feasibly have a strong win against a third of the field bodes well. And then everyone else is kind of stuck in there. We'll have to see how well that ends up going forward. And if we want to take a look at the deck archetypes here, meaning that our total count, this kind of breaks it down and see how overwhelmingly large some of these are. So if we're looking here, like I said, we have over 600 decks. You can see just graphically how much these other ones tower over each other just by just sheer volume. And then we kind of take a look at, nope, sorry, we already did that one. Let me bring up the last one. All right. So this one is our convergency. This is basically saying that if you're green-white, you're looking pretty good right here, being kind of your standout, where your consistency is kind of being well adjusted to your share of the meta. And then, yeah, everyone else is kind of stuck at the bottom. So this is kind of like blue-purple, a few things. So I went ahead and had a couple of learning models or AIs take a look at the data that I had here, and a lot of them are on the same opinion for this. We're looking at green-white and blue-green being our top two decks going into tomorrow. They're likely going to have the strongest amount of that share in that top 16 cut. And then blue-purple and blue-red. Blue-red, just for the fact that if it can get in well enough, it has enough control to take care of the aggro, but if it doesn't have enough to be aggro against green-white, it runs into some issues. Blue-purple, on the other hand, does not have those problems because it can punch up its weight class thanks to Mikazuki's effect and a few of the Barbadoses along with Fatal Strike. And then, unfortunately, blue-white and red-white, they're kind of stuck in the middle. I think we'll see a few of those eke out a little bit because they usually get into the top 8 in most tournaments. My question is how many will make it into the top 32? Because if enough of these get knocked out in the middle round, we may only see 1 or 2 of those decks. And then we have kind of our rest of them. I mean, blue, purple, red, green, purple, and monocolor decks are probably not going to fare well. I wouldn't be surprised if people are playing those. I think purple red has some potential. I just don't know how well people are piloting that deck, and I don't know how consistent it is to make it work. So if people need a refresher, we'll go to that real quick. So blue red, we're looking at some just tie-in based stuff along with this. I think the main thing I said about this one last week was that instead of playing the 4 in Psycho Gundam, you're seeing the Q-Blaze instead to help put pressure. And then green red has a couple forms. This one's clan. Some folks are trying this. There's also another one that you could play that ends up using a lot more of the QLA packages along with the high end green cards that allow you to do things like play with the Zaku that gives you the +2 AP and the Rick Diaz that breaches. This is more of our standard white red package. it shows up pretty well. A lot of people are trying to get consistent. The main issue is that if you don't get your high-end cards to finish the game, you're kind of pretty much on the receiving end of a lot of punishment, just because you don't have a lot of answers to deal with people outside of this QLA. Blue purple, this is a fan favorite. A lot of people like playing this deck because it's fun. You will see a lot of folks giving this one a go because it does, when it performs well and you got the right player behind it, it can do a lot of work against aggro decks, and it's fast enough to beat winged decks. And blue white, freedom blockers is usually this type of build. I know some folks like myself like the Epion build, or playing with the Titans build, and in some rare cases the Unicorn build instead of playing with freedoms to finish off your games, or in the Justice. So this one's been more of the popular deck that we've been seeing with playing down blockers, using the Sword Strike to bounce people back, along with the AO Strike. And then we have the Aerial Rebuild that can also block and high maneuver. And here's one of our top ace decks. This one, you just hope that you draw into your Zaku 2s that give you the +2 AP, and then you start bringing people down, and then you get the Char Zaku's that allow you to keep searching for the cards you need, and yeah, just keep running into the shields until they're done, and hope they know very, very good burst your bases in there. And here's probably our likely winner for tomorrow. This green-white build is going to be packed with a lot of ability to absorb damage, and then deliver it with the Shenlong Gundam and the Wing Gundam to deal with breach damage, to take out shields and bases. And yeah, Wing Zero just cleans up a good board. It's hard to really come back when you get blown up, and the fact that Striker packs and underground bases can foil rush decks days, it's not going to be too much of a surprise if we go that far. So again, we'll see how it goes. Anything can happen at a regional. I mean, there was one in Dallas, people did not give the red-white Justice deck its due, and it made, you know, a good progress in the tournament, and everyone was pretty ecstatic about it. I'm looking forward to seeing if that deck will make an appearance this weekend, because I've seen it gain a lot of traction over the last 2 weeks, and I would like to see blue-white do well. I'd like to see this whole thing to where, you know, this whole meta share starts dropping a little bit before we get into set 3, but we'll see. I'm curious to see what you guys think about this, and we'll kind of move on from there. And then, yeah, outside of that, let me see if I've got anything else here to share with you guys today outside that. Oh, Bandai Card Games Fest. If you did not catch the Operation Meteor weekly recap that we put on Tuesday, make sure you guys pay attention to when the tickets go on sale. It's the only chance that you'll get to get a general attendee ticket, and you'll need that to participate in side events. That includes like the demos for Assemble and playing for new type challenge prizes and things like that. It won't get you into the last chance qualifier, but it's a good way to kind of get some other prizes and packaging. So with that, I think we're done for the night, and we'll try to work on stuff. I'm trying 2 different things out. I'm going to try to get a video on a challenge with trying to get an age deck to function and play well, and try to get a white-red Justice deck profile done. So that way, if you're working on trying something new for Do Type Challenge 3, you can give that deck a try as well. And with that, I got enough for you. So this is Sal with Operation Meteor, signing off.